to the Spiritual Singer Podcast. I'm Jess, your friendly neighborhood dude bro medium and recovered skeptic, here to explain the unexplainable, to dive deep into spiritual concepts, to educate, inspire, and empower you, whether you're just dipping your toes into the water woo-woo or fully underway in your spiritual journey trying to find your place. Grab an espresso, a wine, or whatever you need to get ready. It's about to get spiritual. Welcome back. In today's episode, we are talking all about readings. What is a reading? Can you have a bad one? Do I see dead people? Are you going to die tomorrow? Am I going to tell you if you are? And everything in between. Ready? Let's get started. So, what exactly is a reading? A reading is when someone delivers messages to you from a higher connection. It can provide you with guidance, empowerment, closure, inspiration. The list just goes on and on and on and on and on. This is totally individual to you, depending on what you're asking for, how you're showing up to the reading, who you're going for to a reading, and where you're at in your life, your level of consciousness, etc., etc., etc. That is totally individual. And why am I saying someone? Because I don't know exactly who you're planning on going to. And depending on who you're going to, it'll be different. For instance, some people refer to themselves as psychic mediums, just a medium, intuitive, spiritual mediums like myself. I know people read tea leaves, we have astrologers, we have tarot card readers. There is a lot to choose from out there. And it's not that anybody's better or worse than anybody else. It's all whatever feels good to you. The important thing is, and this includes like Reiki and energy healing as well, no matter what energy worker you're going to, their job is not to convince you of higher power. The one thing that I would advise against is going to a medium to have them prove you wrong. I get it, guys. I am a recovering skeptic. I say this a million times. But a good medium is there to deliver messages for the highest and best of all and for you. They're not there to prove to you that God exists. They're not there to prove anything to you. You know, when we're giving readings, we're stepping out of the way and we're literally delivering messages straight from whatever higher power that they're working with, straight to our client. And you'll know this if you have a reading with me in my opening prayer. That's how I start. I ask for guidance for the highest and best of all, and especially for whoever I'm reading for. I say their name. You literally can't mess up who you're going to for a reading. It may not be what you want to hear, but it'll be what you need to hear. There are no accidents. The most important thing to remember is that there's nothing to be afraid of. And this is my answer as well for when people ask me how they know it's time to get a reading. There's nothing to be afraid of. The importance is, like with everything in life, that our choices are coming from a place of love and not fear, right? To have a reading or to not have a reading. There's nothing to be afraid of. The person reading for you is the one opening themselves up to the spirit realm. And if they're doing that, they're probably highly trained and protected. Which also answers your question. No, I will not predict death. I will not tell you if a bus is going to hit you tomorrow. I'm sure you can find someone who can. But personally, I am super, 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 super highly protected against darkness and death. I do not want to see it. I do not want to predict it. That doesn't mean that someone else can't. And see, this is the interesting thing about, you can't really decide who's better, a medium or a psychic medium or a spiritual medium or an oracle, I don't know, somebody else. We don't know, because it all depends what you're looking for. Maybe there are people out there who would want to know if they're going to get hit by a bus tomorrow. I personally would not. And I tell you guys everything I see, so I don't even want to see it. And because I am so well protected against all of the darkness in the other world, that means you're protected, because all I'm doing is delivering the messages to you. That means that you can come to a reading. I guess it is a meeting. You can come to a reading. I'm giving you messages from the divine and you can say, whoa, I'm not like anything this bitch just said to me. This chick just said to me. And I'm not going to listen to anything she said because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel good. I'm not down. Okay, cool. You have free will. Just like you have the free will to come to a reading, you have the free will to apply the learnings to your life after. And having said that, you might be wondering, why would I have a reading? But I mean, why wouldn't you have a reading? It's like any other self-care modality. Just like we need to keep up our physical health by going for walks and going to the gym, it's also important to keep up our mental and spiritual health, to do that maintenance for our mental, physical, and spiritual body. Like I said, the choice should come from love and not fear. So now you know that there's nothing to be afraid of. When you tap deep into yourself, when you ask the deepest knowing, it's funny because we usually say the deepest knowing, but also of your highest self, which is a bit of an oxymoron. I just realized that. But they're really one and the same, right? You can call it your gut. You can call it your instinct. It's really about trusting yourself. And if your first instinct is to run, then ask yourself, well, is that fear? And now that you know that you're safe and protected, do you still have that gut instinct to run? Right? There is no pressure to or to not have a reading. The answer is going to be different for everybody. It's kind of like any other self-care modality. Sometimes it feels good to work out every day, and sometimes you just need a break. Sometimes you need to call your therapist 5 times a day. Sometimes you're not going to talk to her for 5 months. That's just the way it goes. What's that thing from, oh my God, that movie's so old, Bruce Almighty? That's just the way the cookie crumbles, baby. So, what exactly is somebody doing when they're reading for you? Or when you are feeling these gut instincts? This is why I'm talking about, when I say a reading, it's somebody connecting with a higher power, because intuitives might be feeling that from a much more earthly place than somebody like myself would. But anyone who you're communicating with, whether it be yourself in this form of a gut feeling, whether it be your angels, whether it be a past loved one, they are going to do so through your clairs. What the hell is a clair? They are basically our senses. I call them super senses because there are senses that connect us to the I don't want to say supernatural because it's not the supernatural, but it is the spirit realm, right? Like you've heard probably the term clairvoyant, and that is someone who sees clearly. So this person will have very clear seeing. They have an intuitive mind's eye. They get frequent downloads from the universe. Download is going to be on the buzzword episode. Don't worry, guys. We're going to get there. But they are somebody, and it's kind of hard to explain it until you felt it yourself. It's like, we'll talk about this when I talk about my own experience, but sometimes clairvoyance isn't necessarily, oh, I see your aunt standing behind you. It's like I can see it in my mind's eye. So that means that I can see it kind of in my head, but not actually on this 3D realm. That is just one example. Like in the 3D realm, we have clairs for all of our 3D senses. So we have clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, clairaudience, which is clear hearing, clairsentience, which is clear feeling, but feeling in the way like you're sitting in front of me and I can feel what you're feeling. Like an empath or a nurturer or a deep feeler, a highly sensitive person, they are clairsentient. We have claircognizant, which is a feeling of knowing, certainty, learning through books and writing. We have clairvoyance, which is clear smelling, clairgustance, which is clear tasting, and clairtendency, which is clear touching. Just like in the 3D realm, everybody is going to have clairs that are stronger than others, but we can work on them and try and balance them out, or we can make certain ones stronger if we find them more useful, I suppose. you might be wondering what it's like when I read for my clients and what I experience. So like I was saying, I have a lot of clairvoyance as well as clairaudience. I hear a lot of things. I often hear, I have a bit of everything, to be honest. And I would say that most spiritual teachers, light workers, anybody that you're going to for a reading will probably tell you, yeah, I got a bit of all of this. Something I don't do too much is smelling. Oh, but actually that's not true. Yeah, see, it's funny. It's a bit of all. So for me, when I'm reading, I have kind of a visual library for myself. So if I'm talking to you, I'm reading for you, and something that's kind of unique to me is that often when I'm speaking, I'm getting more downloads. So some people like to write, some people like to sit in silence, and for me, talking really helps get I don't want to say juices flowing, but that's what it is. And so often I'll be talking to you and I'll say, yeah, I see a blue necklace. It doesn't mean that I'm literally not seeing you anymore and I'm seeing a blue necklace. It means that in my mind's eye, in the back of my head, I guess it's a mix of clairvoyance and claircognizance. I just know what it is, or if I hear a song, I can tell you what that is. The interesting thing is that when you start reading for people and when you start practicing these things, you start to build a library. So, for instance, when somebody has died in a car accident, I don't see a car accident. I have a feeling. It's a feeling in my body that I find it hard to even explain, but I know that they're showing me that they died in a car accident. Or when I see a flowing river, I know that has nothing to do with the river. For me, that is a sign that things are moving quickly and you could be feeling overwhelmed. So sometimes, and I tell you guys this too in readings, Spirit will show me events from my own life so that I can explain it clearly to you because I've felt it and I've experienced it. And so I can articulate the feelings that you're feeling. And obviously, I'm not going to tell you, yeah, I'm seeing my ex-boyfriend right now. No, I'm going to say I'm feeling a heartbreak. I'm feeling XYZ, whatever it may be. And if you guys listen to the Spirit Guides episode, what was really interesting at the beginning for me when I started reading for people, now I've read for over 100 people. I've been doing tarot readings for over 3 years and mediumship reading for, oh my God, it's been almost a year, I think now. It's so cool. What was really weird at the beginning was getting to know Spirit's personality because, like I was explaining, we use a mix of our clairs to communicate the messages to you, right? So sometimes the Spirit will appear to me as a colored light and I can hear them very clearly. Sometimes they will show me exactly what they look like. Sometimes they will show me, like I said, something that I'm familiar with so that I'm able to describe it to you as my client. And so every reading in this way is very unique, but it's supposed to be that way because it's unique to you. The messages are for you. It has nothing to do with me. I'm stepping out of the way and I'm just delivering you whatever comes. And for that reason, I feel really bad because right now I have a 98% return rate, which is friggin' awesome. I love that my clients love coming back to me. I'm like getting emotional. I'm not going to cry. Okay, I'm crying already. But it is just so cool that you guys trust me on that level, and it's so cool to just continue to get to know each other and to learn from each other. But it's so funny when they come back because sometimes I won't remember what I said because it's really just a message straight from the divine, straight to you, and I'm not there. And I already have a hard time remembering things as it is. So imagine when it's not even my idea, right? Like these downloads, these ideas are coming from the divine. They're coming from something so much bigger than you or myself. So they don't really stick around in my head. So if a reason that you were scared to get a reading was you didn't want somebody to see the innermost workings of your soul, don't worry about it. And also, if you're worried about me sharing about it on the podcast, something I talk a lot about is integrity, and it's something that I think that I have a lot of. And something that is part of that integrity is never to share about someone's reading unless it's for learning. And even then, it will always be anonymous. Like a reading that I did for a friend of mine who I years ago had a crush on, and then they came to me for a reading, and the reading was all about their love life. And me, during the reading was like, oh man, I wish that I could remember all of this, but I already knew that as soon as we closed the space that I would forget it all, and I did, and I can't remember any of it. And I'm sure that they thought that I was doing that as like a personal gain, but man, I wish that I could remember it. I want to know. And this must sound very strange. Maybe developing our clairs is something that we could talk about, so that, I mean, if you have had a very powerful meditation session and you've seen someone come to you, or you've seen images pass by, maybe you kind of know what I'm talking about. If not, we can work on that. Maybe we'll do a meditation. Maybe we can even do a meditation for our spirit guides. Would that be something that you guys are interested about? Let me know in the comments. I also experienced, like I said, feelings in my body. So if you've had a reading with me, you'll know a big confirmation for me is I'll get chills everywhere. Like I said, I have feelings in my body when we are visiting with a past loved one, and they will show me how they died, and that is a feeling usually. The thing is that I, as a reader, I'm doing my best to hold the most sacred space I can for you. Like I said, it's for the highest and best of all, but especially for you. So I am completely detached from the outcome. It's not about my skills. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. You've already made the investment. You've already made the time to come and see me. So I am just giving you whatever comes to me, completely detached from the outcome. And this is important because when you come for a reading, like I said, you're going to get what you need, but not always what you want. And that brings us to our next point. Can you have a bad reading? The interesting thing is that a bad reading might actually feel good, because the only way that a reading could be bad is if the person that's reading for you is pulling from ego, not from higher consciousness. So like I was just talking about, I oftentimes forget because I'm pulling from a consciousness, a oneness, something outside of myself. I am just the communicator for ideas that are not mine. It is a divine conversation between you and spirit. Whereas someone with a different set of boundaries or different integrity might just want to make you feel seen, which is also, it also has its value. It also has its place. I don't know if that necessarily makes it a bad reading, but if they're pulling from an ego space, it might feel actually good in that moment. It might make you feel really seen. I know a lot of skeptics think like, oh, these people are just really intuitive and they just reflect whatever you want to hear. But is that really bad? Like, if it makes you feel at peace in that moment, is it really bad? I mean, I would think that the only way a reading could be bad is if the reader came with their own intentions, with their own egotistical intentions, in the way that they just want to prove that, oh, I'm such a good reader. Look at my connection with the divine. Wow, look at me. I know what kind of sandwich your grandma used to like. Again, I don't know what is with me and the sandwiches, because if you know me, I don't know. I don't ever think I had a sandwich. Everybody at school in elementary school had sandwiches, and I had freaking pasta fagioli in a thermos. Like, I don't know where I'm getting these sandwiches from, but that's the only way that I could see a reading being bad, because maybe it wouldn't be useful. But even in that case, you would probably feel very seen and loved and acknowledged in the moment. So is that really a bad thing? I'm not sure. Because ironically, a bad reading might actually feel good in that moment. What's funny about readings is that it's always what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. I had a reading, I think it was 3 years ago now, and after I left, this is a lady that I'd seen 2 or 3 times, and after I left, I said, this is the biggest bullshit. This lady lost her touch because she happened to have had a really big body change. I think she lost like over 100 pounds. I don't know if it was natural or not. I didn't have the courage to ask. Maybe I should have. This was ages ago. I was still a little baby. It had nothing to do with woo woo. Didn't know anything about spirit or source. It was just little baby Jess trying to get some answers, trying to heal her broken heart. And I left thinking, wow, this lady really lost her touch. Fast forward to this summer, literally 3 years later, and I can't tell you guys what happened because anybody who knows me will know exactly what I'm talking about, and it'll just be too obvious, and I'm not going to make a mess of my personal life on this podcast. I'm already putting myself out there enough. Everything she said came to fruition. So when you're in a reading and something's feeling off to you, don't kill yourself thinking like, oh, this message doesn't really resonate. Oh my God, maybe she doesn't know what she's talking about. Just think, okay, stay open, keep a mental note for later. Try your best not to shut down because that won't do anything but make the reader's job more difficult, which is funny because actually at the time of that reading that I thought was such a bad reading, I could tell that she got a little bit weird. Now that I understand more, I acknowledge that that's probably because I got weird because I was like, what the hell is this lady talking about? When instead, literally, oh my God, the more that I think about it, the more like spot on she was. It was insane. But I guess because I wasn't really expecting a psychic reading, I wasn't thinking I'd have to wait 3 years to find out that it was relevant to me. You know, you're just going in, you're expecting this person to, I don't know what you're expecting when you go into a reading. Obviously, my expectations are very different now than then. But yeah, just stay as open as you can. Which actually leads me to my final point before I wrap up. Hi, Future Jess here. I'm listening to the podcast and realizing that there is one way that a reading can be bad. And it's not only a reading, but an energetic work. When somebody gives you a reading, gives you messages, does any kind of energetic work without your permission, that is considered energetic, the R word. I'm not going to say it. Because even if they have the best of intentions, you have not given them your permission to enter your space, to enter your energy, to work with your energy at all. And that is the only way, I think I've come to this conclusion. I'd be really interested to see what you guys think, but that is the only way that I can think of that somebody can give you a bad reading. Because we spoke earlier about somebody not acting in integrity. Yeah, okay, but that might still provide you some kind of comfort in the moment. That's not really the end of the world. But somebody using your energy or interacting with your energy or your spirit guides without your permission would, for me, be a total boundary cross, red flag, run for the hills, do not work with this person again. And this is something to keep in mind when you are choosing to have a reading with someone. Like when somebody slides into your Instagram DMs and they're like, I want to give you a reading. I don't know. I guess if you give them energetic permission, then it works. To be honest, this is why I take payment for my readings, because there needs to be some kind of energy exchange. Not always, but often. There should be some kind of energy exchange. Doesn't have to be a monetary value, doesn't have to be a specific, you do this and I do that, but it has to be like a commitment to the permission that you are giving. I give you so much permission to interact with my guides, to interact with my energy, that I am going to give you this in return, whether it's my time, my energy, my money, etc., etc., etc. So I just wanted to pop in and say this is the only place where I would say buyer beware. And if you ask somebody about that or whatever, and they give you a wishy-washy answer, Follow your gut always, follow your intuition. Your heart always knows best. I think this also should give some people peace of mind, knowing that without their full and open permission, they can't really be read unless the person is acting out of integrity. I know that when somebody comes to me and they expect me to like prove them wrong or to convince them that mediumship is real, I find it very hard to read them. Their messages are not as clear because they are not as open to receiving them, which blends perfectly into how I'm going to wrap this up. I hope this was a helpful little add-on. That's the best piece of advice that I would have to you before you go into a reading. Whoever is reading for you hopefully has your best interest at heart. I can only speak for myself, but I know that my only goal as in a reading is to help guide you to your very highest and best. I just want to help you live your best life, and I just want to live my best life. I just want everybody to be happy. And if you ever met me, you know that that's pretty true. As much as I can be sarcastic and cynical, I really just want everybody to be happy. I really have love for every person, even the people who don't have love for me. And so those are the things that I would recommend to you to take with you when you're going into a reading, because yeah, you might be skeptical. Yeah, maybe what they're saying doesn't really line up with how you're feeling in that moment, but that doesn't mean it won't be useful for you later. I wonder now if I had stayed more open in that reading that I thought was so bad, if I would have gotten even more information out of it, because like I said, it all came true this summer, right? So just keep in mind that these people are not trying to prove their skills to you. They are literally just translating the information that they are getting to you. You then have the free will to do whatever you want, right? So many readers told me to end my relationship, and then there was 18-year-old Jess who didn't want to listen to anybody, and she just stayed until it didn't end well. Maybe that'll be another story for another day, but that was my free will, and that was what I chose to do because that's what felt good in that moment. And obviously, you know, I'm sure my spirit guides weren't happy with me at the time, but we didn't really have that much contact, so I didn't really care, right? To make a long story short, readings are such a powerful self-care tool, and I think that they should be used like any other self-care tool, like a face mask. Like, really, depends what you're looking for. Follow your gut, but I've never regretted spending money, investing money into myself, my wellness, my development, and I don't think you will either. So I want to thank you so much for listening. I hope you feel inspired, loved, and curious to the world around you and the beyond. To contact me or to book a reading, you can check out my Instagram or website. I'll leave all of the links in the description box below. If you like this episode, share it with anyone and everyone you can. I don't care if it's your mom, your dog, your spirit guides, whoever. I love you so much. Talk soon.